Good afternoon, everyone. Don't you just love that music that Monina Wagner, who's working behind the scenes, she added that for a little introduction there. Just gets you in the mood for today's live stream. So welcome all to our Ask the CMI Team live stream. You can find us here pretty much every Monday at noon. We are here because we want to help you guys create engaging content. We give you access to the people who make all the magic happen here at Content Marketing Institute. All of our team, they share practical advice, answer your questions, and we share our successes, but we also admit some mistakes that we've made that we hope that you can also learn from, like we have as well. So as you're joining us for today's live stream, please drop in the comments where you are joining us from. Say hello. We love to see where you guys are all from. And today's live stream, we are talking about social media. If you have a social media team, consider yourself one of the lucky ones. But it's not uncommon for us to hear from marketers who say social media is kind of bundled all in with all of our other marketing duties. So if you're looking for smarter ways to manage social media as a team of just one, if you want to be more effective in keeping a pulse on your social channels, this is the place to be for the next 15, 20 minutes or so. So I see we have some people joining us from Mary from San Francisco. Chris is in the UK. Okay. Eric said hi. Hi, Eric. Thanks for giving us a virtual way. Maria is in Finland. We have someone else from Philadelphia as well. So thank you all so much for joining us today. So before we get to today's guest, we love to start with our question of the day. So what is your favorite social media platform? And maybe you have two, maybe you have one for personal and one for business. So share with us what you think is your favorite social media platform and maybe why. Maybe one is different for work and business. I love Instagram. Instagram is one of my favorite. I just love to mindlessly scroll through that. I know a lot of people on our team love TikTok. I have not delved into that yet, so I'm a little afraid to. But anyway, let's ask our guest here today. I'm excited to have Kathy McPhillips with us today. She is the VP of Marketing here at CMI. Kathy, what is your favorite social media platform?
Same. I love Instagram for myself. I like that there's not a whole lot of text in there and it's just images. I love photos and taking pictures, and that's fun. But for work, I love Twitter. I've loved Twitter for about 11 years and it's my favorite. But also I've gotten into TikTok because my daughter sends me TikToks every single day. I won't do a TikTok, but I do enjoy watching them.
I think I'm afraid to get into it because I feel like I will sit there and just mindlessly going through it. So I think that's part, I just don't need something else and I'm going to be mindlessly wasting my time doing. So I think that's the big thing for me. We have everybody checking in. Eric says he loves Twitter. He covers a lot of live events and seems to be, and I agree, real-time conversation. That's what I really love about Twitter. Axel says LinkedIn and Instagram. Someone else is saying, we have a couple people say, Abby says TikTok. Someone else says Facebook. It's probably because that's where their audience primarily is.
Or because we're here.
Right. Twitter, and Amy says Twitter and Facebook for myself because there's lots of text and for ease of connection with others. Lindsay says personally Instagram and TikTok, for business Facebook because it's high engagement for us. Yes, Facebook does seem to get a lot of engagement. All right.
Evan said Pinterest. Pinterest is making a comeback. I think with COVID and everyone being home, like recipes and decor, Pinterest is, I would actually on more than I ever have before.
Yeah, we're getting ready to do a bathroom remodel. So I've been on there a lot looking, and definitely recipes. Yeah, I'm getting very tired of cooking the same thing over and over again in the pandemic. So for sure. Oh, Eric also says Instagram Reels is the TikTok for us parents. That is true, Eric.
That is very true.
Oh, Amanda says she likes LinkedIn and Clubhouse. I have not tried Clubhouse yet. Have you, Kathy?
I haven't. I have a login, and I've watched a couple, but I really just we've been busy right now, so I just haven't had time to really dive in. I'm kind of afraid to a little bit.
I am too. I'm not sure how I feel about Clubhouse yet.
Well, the one thing I noticed is that they can see if you're there, and that just is weird. Like if you want to say like I'm here, that's great. But if people can just see who's in there, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, so let's dive into our first question here. Again, I'm going to be chatting with Kathy, but if you guys have any questions about social media or our social media strategy, etc., please feel free to drop those questions in the comment section. Let's first talk about social media strategy. If no one at your company owns social, or if it's just a one-person effort, how important is strategy? Is it enough to have a content marketing strategy and plug in, social wherever you can? What's the best?
Well, I'd say if you're the only person, I really think it's worth it to get someone to run your community and to handle your social media. It's not a job to pass off to an intern. This is the person that is the first line that's seeing your customers, listening, engaging, their customer service. They are listening for editorial content. They are doing so many things that really is a full-time job. So assuming you can't do that, you really need a strategy. You need to, you're building a community. You really just want to make sure that there's a reason you're doing what you're doing. Because if you start just posting just whenever you want, you really there's no strategy behind it. And it ends up you just talking to yourself. Because if you just keep posting and you aren't building your community and growing your audience, who are you talking to? So I really think that you need to make sure that you're finding the people and you're finding out what they really want you to hear from you.
Right, exactly. So if you're a marketer juggling other responsibilities, how do you decide what's most important to focus on when it comes to social media? Is it the content creation, customer service, community management, measurement? Like what are you supposed to focus on?
Well, I think if you haven't started, I think starting with just listening, kind of being that customer service arm and saying, what are your customers asking for? What are they liking? What are they disliking? And that can kind of turn into what content you're going to create. And it can turn to so many other things. You could be going to your operations team saying, here's a disconnect between what we think our customers like and what actually is happening. So I really think it needs to start with listening. So just start following different things, following different hashtags, following different keywords, following your own keywords, following misspellings of your company name, and just really listening to see like what is happening, what are people talking about. And then from there you can create more content, and from there you can start promoting other things. But it really just starts with listening and finding out what's the crux of what your customer needs right now. And that changes all the time, so it's not like, okay, you listen for a month and then you move on to the next thing. You're listening forever. That's the way you're really going to make sure that you're staying relevant and consistent with what you're sending out to your customers.
Right. And I'm sure you started running our social at first. So I'm sure that's a lot of what you did.
Yeah, I mean, I said you shouldn't have one person do all the marketing, but I did that for a number of years. And it got to a point where I'm like, okay, I need help. And our community needs help because I can't be there all the time. So having someone dedicated to that role is just really critical. And you can tell from our community, I'm very proud of our community that we've built, but it really is because we have someone dedicated to that role, Monina, who is doing that and doing a great job and is always on, is always accessible some way on one of our many, many channels that she's managing.
So, Alexis says, most of my social media management time is listening and participating in conversations, maintaining the voice and characteristics of the brand, which are important. Yeah. And that maybe speaks a little bit to, brand guidelines as far as social media, making sure you're maintaining that voice.
Right. And that was one nice thing, Joe built this voice and Pam built this voice of the company. I came on, I inherited all that, made it my own, and then when Monina took over, it just was pretty seamless. It wasn't me. It wasn't all about me. So it really was this fun, active, engaging voice for CMI, quirky, silly, and Mo has been able to carry that through, make it her own, but there hasn't been this big disconnect of, I want it this way, and here's, it really is what our customers are responding to. So it was pretty easy to make that change. And sometimes though, people can tell when, if Monina's on vacation or something and I'm covering a Twitter chat, sometimes people can tell, like, wait, this isn't Mo today, is it? Just because we have different, I mean, we do. By nature, people are all different. So we just sound a little bit different. Or she's very quick at emojis and jokes during the Twitter chat. I am not. So if it's a sideways smiley face, people know that it's me because I'm just slower. But
right. You're good about letting people know, like, hey, it's Kathy today. It's not normally Mo. You're not going to see all the emojis and the cool gifts. Right?
Yeah.
Roland asks, what's the best strategy for a B2B company? Is it focusing primarily on content or product promotion? That's an interesting one.
I say content and I say engagement more than promotion. We have followed this rule loosely for a long time, is Andrew Davis's 4-1-1 rule, where for every 6 pieces of content you put out, or social media posts you put out, or tweets, 4 of them are helpful. You're pulling, just giving them information from your website or from other places. 1 is sharing a third-party piece of content, and 1 is about you. 1's promoting your content. So really, very little of your content on social media should be about pushing a person towards a sale. It should be, you can push them towards something. You can push them towards reading more things or doing more things. But as far as getting them to take that big conversion you want, that's going to turn people away really quickly.
And that's, Chris was asking, what are some of the most common mistakes you see in social media marketing? And I would say probably too much promotion, right?
Too much promotion. So one thing with social listening is that you can hear anything. If people are talking among, to each other, and you see a keyword that, like content marketing, that you want to jump into, sometimes you just don't want to jump in because it doesn't, that looks weird. So listening in the right way, engaging in the right way, favoriting something and just making sure it gets back to people on your team, but being in the right place at the right time, but don't insert yourself where you really don't belong. Mm-hmm. But yeah, over promotion is just not a good thing. And you can see that, you can see if you post a tweet or post a Facebook post or LinkedIn or something, talking about, asking your customers a question, and you do that and you see all the engagement and the conversation and all the rich things you can pull from that. And then you post something about something promotional, your engagement's going to drop. Mm-hmm. So you really want to make sure that you have that balance of course, you have to push your product. You have to push something at some point. Because you're in content marketing, you're not just pushing content, it really is content marketing to push a person towards an action. But your numbers are just going to go down if it's just me, it's not going to work.
Right. And we all know that from personal experience when we're following brands or whatever, and we're like, oh, now they want me to buy something again. Yeah. All right, let's talk a little bit about automation. It can make the life of a marketer easier, particularly when you're spread thin.
Right.
But what about, auto DMs, messenger bots? Can they positively add to the customer's experience on social? How do you still do that and maintain the connection?
They really can be helpful. On Facebook, we have some bots that are, if someone is coming to Messenger and they say, is your call for speakers open? Or when is Content Marketing World this year? Or how can I write for your blog? Or how can I subscribe? Any of those questions are very, very easy to answer in a bot format. Here's the link. If you have any more questions, let us know. What else can we answer for you? But don't try to pretend that you're actually a person behind there. Let them, here's a checklist or here's a pick list. I want to answer one of these 4 things. Did it answer your questions? No. Okay, then we'll get back to you. So don't try to pretend you're a live person because you're not. Talk to your customer service team, talk to people on your team. Your community manager will also know what are the top questions that your customers are coming to you to ask, and make a bot. If it's a simple answer, plus the person on the receiving end gets that answer instantaneously, which is what they want, and then you can just kind of go from there. And sure, there are a lot of questions that can't be answered in bot format, but why not just make it easier on yourself and get people what they want exactly when they're asking for it?
Right.
I've seen some really successful ones, just some B2C brands, some retail brands, that something popped up and you're like, yeah, that is exactly what I wanted, and thank you. And I'm going to actually purchase something now or do something now because you gave me the answer that I needed.
Right. Yeah, that's what Darcy was asking. Should we have auto response message if we have a split audience between B2B and B2C?
I think you can do it in a way that, I think you can do it in a way where it's tiered, where you can say, are you coming for this? Or are you coming from this or for this? And then it can kind of take you off into more questions, more automated questions. So yeah, why not? And then it might even let someone else know, oh, they do have this whole other side of the business I didn't realize, or, who knows what that could turn into. We have people that come to our event that come as attendees, and then they realize, oh, I also could be a sponsor because I'm a technology company, and I didn't realize that was a possibility. So there are ways that it's not in every single instance, but there are ways that people could benefit from coming to your event as a sponsor, also as an attendee. So you don't know who that might trigger, who that might get them to do one more thing with you and become a good partner.
Another question is Christine wants to know, with limited time, how important is it to review or track statistics? I'm assuming she means like measurement.
I would say at least once a month, go over your analytics, make sure what you're doing is working, that your customers are engaging with it. And, you might think, here's my strategy, here's my channel plan. Channel plan is when you go in channel by channel, platform by platform, and saying, okay, we're going to use Instagram in this way, Facebook in this way, LinkedIn this way. Who's the audience? What can we give them there? And how are we going to implement that? And if you go through that and you're like, okay, this is solid. We have this great, great plan. And then you spend a month doing it. And then you look at the numbers, you're like, wait, that was either fabulous or we need to rejigger this a little bit. So looking at your analytics, it doesn't need to be perfect. Just have some measurable insights on what you can measure and what you can actually use, what will make a difference, what numbers will make a difference in you changing your strategy or continuing with your amazing strategy. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it just needs to be directional. Like, yes, this is we're on the right path. Because if you try to wait till your analytics and your KPIs and all your Google Analytics and everything set up perfectly, you'll never do it. Right. So just trying to find something measurable and actionable is what I would say.
Great. And so and you kind of mentioned this earlier, as we talked about when you started out doing social and everything for our marketing team. How do you know it's time to scale up and to grow a team?
The simple answer is when you don't have enough time. When you can't do all the things you want to be doing and still make sure that you have a pulse on the community and you're actually listening and spending time and engaging with them. You could be on social media 40 hours a day and doesn't leave you a lot of time to do other things. So making sure that, it's getting done. So, when I realized, okay, I can't run the community and do the marketing and, do all these different things, I went to Joe and I said, I think Pam came to me and said, you need help. And I'm like, yes, I do. Mm-hmm. So, and the thing about that is that she said, what do you like doing the least? Let's find someone to fill that role. And then it turned out that we decided on getting a community manager. And I'm like, that's the part I really like. I love being in touch with the community, but it just made sense for what we needed to have someone else come in and fill that role for us. So, just making sure you can get your work done and making sure it's manageable. And social media is hard. It's time consuming, sitting on your computer all day long, staring at a screen all day long, trying to be everywhere for everybody. It really does take a toll. So, making sure that there's someone there that can do it. And as a manager, when I was doing community management full time prior to CMI, I was on 18 hours a day, 16 hours a day. And it kind of just like sucks the life out of you a little bit. As much as I wanted to make sure that I was always there, always, always, always on. And then you realize like people don't need that. And let's manage the expectations of our customers. If it takes someone a few hours to get back to you, if there's a timely question, yeah, you need to be on. You need to be ready to respond. So having a good tool to help you, we use AgoraPulse to help you watch everything is really important, but nothing like what's that urgent, like what for your brand, and every brand is different. For us, a few hours is okay. For some brands, minutes, you need to respond in minutes. So figure out what's right for your brand and just make sure you have someone that can do that, and make sure that as a manager, me as a manager, I'm making sure that the person that's on the other end of the social media for your company has time to completely disconnect, because it's just a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. Someone have a question, and I'm not sure if you can answer this, but I think you did manage multiple accounts at one point. Like if you're an agency and you're managing a bunch of different accounts, is there a good strategy for that? I don't know if you can speak to that.
I guess I would say, one thing I was, even from a personal and a business, if you're on social and you're active and you're running social for a company, one thing I did is I had TweetDeck on my phone for personal and I had Twitter on my phone for business. So I never made sure I was, I never tweeted from the wrong place. But again, I think it's just managing expectations of your clients. If if your client expects 40 hours, then and you have 2 clients, then you need to find someone else to help you. Just making sure that you really are, or you're just, you're toggling between the 2 things, between the 2 accounts. But that would be really hard to have a full-time community management person managing multiple things. So just kind of managing the expectations of your client, of your manager, of your team on what you truly can do and what you can really do well. Someone made a note about, I can't scroll right now since I'm on camera, but someone made a note about, doing one thing really well before you branch out into something else.
Mm-hmm.
And that one thing really well could change. We were doing, some things we were doing really well, a year down the road, we're like, okay, that's not that it's exhausted itself, but let's, there's this new thing that's coming out. Our customers have kind of shifted over here. Slack, when Monina started the Slack group, I was like, I'm not big into Slacks. So, but because she took the time from something else or because she was making time for Slack, something had to give. So we backed off a few other places. So, be really, really good in 1 or 2 places before you can't be 10 places and do a really good job.
Right.
Find out where you really, really like to be and where your customers are and where your message makes the most sense. For us, Pinterest, like I said, Pinterest is making a comeback, but is Pinterest the best place for us right now for our audience? Not really. It's a good place to distribute some content, but it's not somewhere where we need to invest a ton of time.
Right. Well, this has been a great conversation, Kathy. Thank you so much. And Kathy will be the guest on our next week's CM World Twitter chat. If you have never joined our Twitter chats, head over to Twitter every Tuesday at noon. We have a super awesome community. The hour flies by. Everyone contributing. It's really great. So she'll be discussing this topic more in depth. So if you want even more on social media, we got it going on there as well. So thanks so much to Kathy for being here. Thank you all for the wonderful comments and suggestions. We absolutely love when you guys engage with us. Of course, thank you to Monina Wagner, who is our community manager working behind the scenes here for our live stream today. I'm Amanda with CMI. So we will see you all back here next Monday at noon. See ya. Bye, Kathy.
Thank you. Bye.